In a scenario that feels all too familiar to F1 fans, our two championship rivals arrive at the finale tied on points. Thankfully for all involved, there's no full course cautions in this series. But with the similarity in pace between Hissada and Tixier, neither appears to have a real leg up. Who will be crowned champion? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 12 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Mosport is an appropriate place to end the season. When the 49 was first released, this was the track iRacing set the users loose on to test it during week 13. Let's step in to get a closer look at the place. Welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or as most fans know it, Mosport. This circuit to the northeast of Toronto is a rarity in the world of racing today. Safety standards and the desire for more overtaking opportunities has caused most tracks to alter their layouts over the years. But Mosport is still exactly the same footprint as it was when it was built in 1961. A mere 11 turns, most of which are high-speed sweepers, are dispersed among 2.5 miles, or just shy of 4 kilometers. The only alterations to the turns have been to the runoff areas, but otherwise the radii, camber, and elevation changes are all untouched. Because cars have continued to get faster through the passage of time, it's made this place a fearsome beast to tackle. Clayton Corner is particularly notorious. The blind crest and steep plunge combined with incredibly high speeds to create a punishing combination. Without many heavy braking zones, passing is often difficult. And other than using the slipstream up the Mario Andretti straight, the only other option is usually Moss Corner. This double apex hairpin is named after Sir Sterling Moss for his suggestion to redesign it after he saw its initial layout. While the plateau-like middle portion and critical exit onto the backstretch certainly give it plenty of character, the heavy compression at the bottom of the hill that causes a frighteningly short braking zone makes this one not for the faint of heart. Formula One, USAC, and IMSA have all taken their turns here, but recently NASCAR has joined the fray by holding a round for the Truck Series. Old school fans can rejoice for the enduring popularity of this bastion of untouched tarmac, but any motorsports enthusiast can't help but smile at the thrill Mosport continues to provide. Well, Christian, as we were talking before we came to the broadcast, this is going to be an interesting one for these cars, and it's, like I said, fitting, but tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a track that's pretty well suited to the car. You know, it's got a lot of long flowing corners, which the 49 is actually pretty good fun around. There are obviously a couple of really danger spots. Moss, the obvious one, getting the car slowed down and getting it rotated through that double right without going off onto the outside is difficult in any car. Obviously, more difficult in the 49. And then pretty much through Clayton and Quebec, it's the same kind of thing. You know, if you just push a little bit too hard, you'll end up understeering off, and you'll kind of have that slow death where you run off into the grass, and well, the wall comes up pretty quick. So you do have to be careful around this track, but it is actually a lot of fun.
And it's going to be fun to watch to see who comes away the champion, because as you can see, tied into the final round. Now, Ove Trangrade is able to overtake them, but he's going to be a bit of a long shot. He'll need both of them to have some decent trouble today. Martin Granberg and Timo Vascalampi, because of the drop points, are not able to catch up. So they are not able to overtake our leaders on points. We also have an F2 championship, which also could see itself overturned.
Yeah, absolutely. Matthew Maudsley's got an 8-point lead over Hoyer Neva, but we've seen that Neva can score really, really well. He can finish well inside the top 10, so only 8 points. That's definitely still on the table. And the same could be said from Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado as well. He's only 12 points back. I feel like he needs issues from both the guys ahead of him to have any real chance of winning the championship. But then Gary Ho, I think he's pretty much stuck in this 4th spot. He's 28 points off the lead, but he's got 11 points over Rolly Wallbank. It's actually really, really tight for that 5th spot. We've got 3 drivers who are really, really close. Wallbank, Massa, and Grissinger, they're all within 4 points for that 5th spot, so that can easily switch around.
And then in the Nations Cup, it's been kind of interesting because Finland, who once had an almost unassailable lead, have had poor finishes in the last three of the 4 rounds. And so United Kingdom is starting to catch up quite quickly. Singapore is a little bit behind. Tixier holding the flag for them. Could maybe get up there, but that's going to be difficult as the United States and Germany are probably a bit too far back to see anything realistically change up at the front, although they could overtake a few spots along the way. What about the race details, Christian?
Well, it's round 12 of 12, so we are at the final point of the season before we get into week 13. 27 laps. Our kind of normal race length, about 30 minutes around here. Open setup as always and no spare car. We have seen some pretty big first lap incidents throughout the course of the season. Hopefully we don't see one here today, but, Moss Corner, it's always dangerous.
Indeed, and it's a decently healthy field out here today with 30-plus cars, so if someone at the front does have a problem, it could wind up being a big problem for all those behind. As we watch the 5 continue on around, it is, as you'd expect in Canada, relatively cool, 78 Fahrenheit on the track, 21 Celsius for the metric pulse, and no wind, really, to speak of that will affect the cars anyways. So Toga Hisada trying to see if he can take this fight up to Sebastian Tixier. Tixier has yet to take a win, though, so he really needs that one, and he's even said outside of the races that he feels like if he gets this championship, he doesn't deserve it as much as Togo Hisada, but he certainly wants to try and take that victory and put himself up at the top and maybe come away a champion. As Granberg looks like he puts in the temporary pole, will make that Togo Hisada, who just came across and is 2/10 quicker, but we are still waiting on Tixier.
Yeah, and when it comes to, Tixier runs, he's third right now. He's 0.491 off Hisada's pole time. And when it comes to Tixier versus Hisada, I think it's fair to say that Hisada's probably the quicker driver on raw pace, but we see more incidents from Hisada. We've seen quite a few actual kind of bad first laps, towards the beginning of the season, and that's really cost him because it kind of used up all his drop weeks early on. Tixier, we've seen errors now and then, but they've never really been catastrophic. He's normally got to the end of the race, and he's normally been inside the top 5 when that's happened. So I think it's unfair for him to say that he doesn't deserve the championship if he wins, because he has been just ruthlessly consistent.
Indeed, I agree. I think it was mostly in reference to the fact that he hasn't won a race. As unusual as it is, we've seen it a few times here on GSRC with various series where drivers manage to take a championship without taking a victory. In the second lap here for Granberg, puts him on to pole. So Toga Hisada tries to respond. Second lap for him, 16.490. That is going to take pole right back. And Tixier is the next one across in the number 9. Is he going to go faster? 16.7. That will not be pole position, but it does put him into third. It is going to be a fascinating race. Top 3 split by less than 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, a really nice lap there by Granberg. I think that's the strongest we've seen from him over this season. So, we've kind of seen him fade a little bit in races. Hopefully we don't see that today, and maybe he can actually pick up a win.
Bill Tyler moves into 4th, and just over 0.2. I maybe exaggerated things a little bit there, but it is still quite close there between some of our top contenders. Oh, and Topi Korteniemi gets into the mix. He now takes third away from Tixier, putting him farther behind his rival. That is bad news on a track where track position is key.
Yeah, absolutely. But check out Bill Tyler. He's up there in 5th. He's ahead of Trengarade and Vascalampi. That's a really good qualifying time.
I'd say Bill Tyler is on it today. We only have 4 drivers that need a lap time, and I don't see any of them out on track right now with about 2 minutes left, so I'm not sure that we'll get any of them putting one on the board. So we watch with Topi Korteniemi. He's only taken his 1 lap, and that first one was good enough for third. Makes me wonder if maybe he can go that little bit faster here. And it does look like he is up on his time right now, about 3 to 4 tenths quicker than his previous lap, which would actually put him on pole potentially. And Korteniemi was one of the ones that who was thinking about a championship early in the season. Little bit of a correction coming out of the final part of the S's, and now out of White's corner, taking it all the way to the edge. Is it going to be quick enough? It's a 16.79, and he is indeed on the pole by 100th of a second.
Yeah, that little bit of extra rotation that he kind of had in between the last two corners, that can kind of go either way. And I think for him, it actually just helped him out a little bit, let him get the car pointed a little bit earlier than normal. But, you know, really nice lap and very, very close for the top 3 spots. You talked about other drivers out there on track. One car I have seen out on track, it's the Netscape car. It's back. He's back there, unfortunately, in 30th right now. I believe it's Timothy Porter who's the next Netscape car. But, you know, that was pretty cool to see last week. I'm glad he's back.
And that is going to take us to the grid with Topi Kortiniemi on the pole position. Togo Hisada leads our 2 championship contenders on the outside of the front row. Martin Granberg will be starting from 3rd. Sebastian Tixier directly behind Togo at the start in 4th place with Bill Tyler in P5 and Ove Trangerade in 6th position. After that, it's Timo Vaskilampi in 7th, followed by Gary Quellen in 8th, Laust Olsen in 9th. Xavier Sanchez rounds out your top 10.
And then we got John Olsen. He's lining up in 11th alongside Miro Razki. And then a newcomer to the series, Emil Bernstorff. Actually, a driver who streams on Twitch a lot, and I believe an ex-GP2 driver. So he's starting back there in 13th. He is actually the number 1 car today. Alongside Huya Niva, he's back in 14th. He's going to need, I think, a little bit better than that if he wants to take that F2 championship. We got Jan Lehman and Matthew Maudsley. You know, he's 2 positions behind Niva. That I think is going to be good enough as long as he just is able to keep him within sight. But Robert Plumley, back there, 17th. Rolly Wilbank, 18th. Michael Grissinger and Emmanuel Pereira round out the top 20.
Marco Salgado is in 21st, slipping off of that top spot in the AM Championship as Gary Ho starts 22nd. Eugenio Massa will be P23. Don Peak starts 24th, followed by Andrew Ang in the 25th position. Then it's Randy Huff in 26. After that, you've got Ben Summers, P27, Isan Gin, 28th, and Robert Anderson, 29th, with Timothy Porter, our favorite paint scheme, starting from 30th.
And then rounding out the back 5, Magnus Anderson, the last driver to set a qualifying time. He's lined up in 31st. Josh Smets, he's 32nd. Jeff Saunders, Lance Simon, and Robert Reynolds back there in 35th on row 18.
And they all start to grid up here today. And before we get racing, make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. If you use our special discount code MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. So let's see who manages to come away with the last win of the season, but more importantly, who comes away with the points lead. And there are drop points, but Tixier has more of them. So if both of them fail to score, Tixier is going to be the one that comes out the victor because he has 25 compared to Hisada's 24. So it is ultra tight, even in the drop points between them. And we already saw the temperature before still hasn't changed much. 71 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface itself. We're just waiting on the last couple, and then we'll go racing here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, more colloquially known among drivers and fans as Mosport. And I think we've got everybody out there. Indeed, the engines start to rev now as the lights come up for the season finale. And the green flag is out off the line. It's a decent start for Kortiniemi. Hisada starting to catch up to him and look around the outside. He wants to try and take that lead, get himself the best position possible, but he can't quite get there as the rest of them stream out of turn 1. The real question is here into Clayton, who is going to be clean through this corner on the first lap. And our leader is off course. He's going to fall all the way back to 12th. Oh, and he makes contact. Trying to figure out who that is. 2 cars off. Looks like Lehman and I think Nieva.
Yeah, and Haraski was the 14 that started going around early on there. And, you know, that was what I was talking about, where it's very, very easy to overshoot the corner. And I didn't think we would see it from Kortiniemi, but obviously a really unfortunate rejoin there and involving some other cars too.
So Nieva, unfortunately, is going to be set way behind in his hopes of taking Matthew Maudsley for the F2 championship. Gary Ho has had an off in Moss corner, but he's able to get going. So let's stick here up towards the front. And is that Tixier? That's Tixier off. Is he going to stay out of the wall? No! A big hit! The very first lap, and Sebastian Tixier may have given away the championship. He toes! Is this over now?
I think it definitely is. He's disconnected.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Togo Hisada now has free reign. The championship is effectively his if he finishes with at least 25 points over his rival. Remember, the drop week will give Togo Hisada those. So now I got to go through the points and try to figure out how high up does Togo have to finish. But he has no pressure here.
Yeah, and so it's a little bit about Hisada and his opening laps over the course of the season, but it went perfectly for him and disastrously for Tixier.
So 26th place or better will clinch it for Hisada from here. So that's all he needs. Even if he does have an issue, he needs to get back out on track and keep trying. And we're going to see the replay of Sebastian Tixier. Did he do this all his own, or did he have any contact?
I believe he's on the inside here. He's under threat a little bit. We'll have to see if there's any contact on the corner entry, because he was going around very, very early on. I think it was all on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was losing it right at corner entry there.
We often talk about the mental game of racing, Christian, and the way that plays into it more than maybe sometimes we like to admit. Do you think that was just the pressure getting to him?
I don't really think it was, if I'm honest, because we saw a couple of other drivers. I'm not sure who they were, but someone else in around the same position had a similar moment. They just got a little bit luckier with it because it happened later in the corner. So they kind of ended up broadside to the track, but they didn't go backwards into the barrier. I did see somebody else, though. Somebody else went upside down off in the same place. I think it was Grissinger who actually went backwards into the barrier upside down. So, it wasn't as though Tixier had just the moment by himself. It was obviously quite challenging on the first lap for everybody. That's a horrible way to lose a championship. It really is, and I could totally understand his disappointment. So, yeah. Unfortunate, but it's not over for him. We've seen errors from Hisada, and he's under threat right now from Granberg and Trengered.
Indeed, this battle for the lead has been ongoing. Granberg, I don't think we've seen Granberg take a victory this season. I need to double check the stats so far. And Hisada, who we see ahead of him, only has about 0.3 of a second. But as I mentioned before, it's very hard to pass here. They're going to have to try and elicit a mistake out of him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the kind of the obvious passing point is after Moss to get a better run onto the backstretch. But even if you do that, it's still very, very difficult. It's a track where you think the passing wasn't too hard because there is obviously the long straight, but the straight's kind of not quite long enough, if that makes sense, and the braking zone at the end of it isn't quite hard enough to really make a pass particularly easy. It is a track where kind of forcing your opponents into making mistakes is really a bit easier than actually trying to pass them.
As Tope Kortaniemi trying to come back into it. And where is he sitting right now, actually? Looks like 9th place, at least for him, so that's not too bad for the time being. And the other thing about this backstretch, the Mario Andretti straightaway, is it looks like Trangered's on the attack. That is Granberg to his right-hand side, breaks deeper down into the S's, but a little too deep, and he has to get out of it. Granberg is back through. I was about to say that the straight is not totally straight, and it's actually got a lot more bumps than you realize, because in other cars, they're a complete non-issue. When this car was first released, I mentioned it, they raced it here as the first sort of test track, if you will, for it. You couldn't go flat out up that straightaway.
Yeah, and while you can go flat out up the straightaway now, it's still not easy. It's still a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, it can be a little bit sketchy as we come back to Laust Olsen, who's in the midst of a train. That's Quellen in front of him, Bernstorff behind, and Kortaniemi, who is now rocked up to the back of the train, starting from pole position. Did a great job keeping this from going worse, although as he re-entered the track, he did have a little bit of contact with Nieva. in the process. So he did probably cause some ire of some of his rivals. And as they come out of Moss Corner, he's looking to try to get the power down as soon as he can. And now we get a full example of just how scary it can be coming up this straight.
Yeah, you can see him working the wheel a little bit here, and like a lot of little micro corrections just to keep the car going in a straight line. You see there, pretty much every single bump he's going over, he's having to put a bit of opposite lock in to keep the car straight.
And that's at 180 miles an hour for our viewers, so it's not exactly just putzing along that he's having to do it. As they come now out of White's corner, he's kind of plugged up. These drivers in front of him unable to do much to try and overtake on Colin at the front of this train. And this train, honestly, you could almost say this is a train that goes all the way up to the lead because there's not too big a gaps in front of them.
Yeah, and I mean, it really does. I was actually going to talk about how Bill Tyler, he's falling off a little bit of the top three, but you know, he's still just about hanging on. And Gary Quellen's having an amazing run. He actually kind of snuck past us there. He qualified in 8th, but he's up in 6th. So I think this is the best run we've seen him have all season.
By the way, I was able to look at Martin Granberg's stats for this season as a little bit of a defense for some of the drivers here. And oh, the one is a little wide. Is he going to have to give that one up as they come out of Moss Corner? Looks like not completely. Bernstorff is now side by side as Courtaniemi's got a good enough run that he's now starting to pull ahead. And Emil, I think, he backs out of it. He lets that one go, knowing there's no chance in trying to fight that into the corner. So up to P8 for Courtaniemi. If I can get this one out, Martin Granberg had 3 second places over the course of the season. No, that's Plumley. And just keeps it out of the wall. He's still in it.
He's still rallycrossing there. He's not back on yet.
There we go. Now he is back rolling. How far down did he fall with that one? Actually, only lost 2 spots in that? How? That is unbelievable.
Courtaniemi's just muscled his way past Olsen right there.
Oh, that was in Clayton, too. Holy cow. Passes into Clayton you do not come by often. I think we need a replay on that one because both came out the other side as well, which also is even more rare.
Yeah, I mean, if there was... Oh, Trengerade. He's gone off at Moss.
We'll get to that in a second. Here's the pass first here. And Trengerade is down to 5th because of that. There's the overtake. Nicely done for Courtaniemi, getting himself into 7th with that one. And then here's Trengerade, was in 3rd. And going to come on down the hill. This is embarrassingly easy, especially in this car, which isn't known for its stopping power. Oh!
He got very, very lucky with that. He only lost 2 positions from what could have been a massive moment. I mean, he was completely out of control by the time we reached the corner.
We are seeing some impressive car control here today from our drivers. And yeah, he's still within the top 5 and hasn't really lost too much touch with the front group. He's still got Vascalopi and Bill Tyler separating himself from Granberg right now, and it looks like it is about 2 seconds up the road. That is minuscule compared to what could have been a DNF for him here today, as we see them all take different lines through Quebec.
Yeah, and it's a track where there's kind of actually a lot of line variance because you sort of pick where you want to be fast. You know, when you've got so many corners that sort of flow into each other, you can kind of give up one to gain in the other, and vice versa. And you do see a lot of different approaches. And I think in the 49 it sort of mandates different approaches because the car is going to decide where it's going to go, and you're just going to have to kind of figure out what to do after that's happened.
We had a problem with Timothy Porter. Don't need to go there, but the 35 is back on track. That happened through Clayton as well. For F2 Championship fans, Matthew Maudsley, who came in leading, is sitting in the best position. He's still in 11th. Of anybody in the F2s that was in the running, there's nobody near him right now. So he just has to bring this one home from here if he wants to try and claim that. So we come through Clayton once more. Starting to stretch out a little bit. It's now up to 1.3 seconds between Granberg and Tyler. So Hisada and Granberg kind of making this a 2-horse race if they keep this up.
Yeah, and I think Granberg's got a shot at this in terms of what's going on behind. Tyler has fallen back a little bit. He's got Vascalampi and Trangarade who are probably going to be quite, I don't want to say aggressive, but assertive in trying to, pass him and maybe get up to have a shot at this race win. But as we've seen in the 49, it's really hard to close down gaps. It's a difficult car to drive, but when we see gaps open throughout the race and the field, we don't really see drivers just getting way back up. It's very hard to get recoveries, and we saw that even with Hisada back at Interlagos. He had kind of a not so great opening couple of laps, and it was a real challenge for him to get back through the field. So the gap right now is small between second and third, but there's not that long to run it down, and I do think it's going to be quite difficult for either Vascalampi or Trangarade, even if they do pass Tyler, to get back up into this lead fight.
Yeah, they're already about a third of the way through the race, so they've got to start making little inroads here and there to get in contention. And they're going to have to deal with Ove Trangarade, who no doubt is in a hurry to try and overtake those spots that he lost. Do we have another issue for Plumley? Plumley's now fallen to 14th as Jana Lehman moves past him in the first corner. So there you can see the 16 now sitting in P13. But he's got a long ways to go to get up to Olsen. It's about 4 seconds up to the next car, so probably stuck battling with the number 12.
Yeah, and that next car ahead of him is John Olsen, and he's got Matthew Maudsley right ahead of him. They're actually in a pretty tight fight. I don't think that Maudsley's going to really want to race for this though, because there's no one else around aside from this.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Honestly, if he's watching that F2 championship, as Courtaniemi tries to get another one, but Quellen says, nope, you don't, and he is going to hold on to 6 for the time being. They also have lap traffic they're having to deal with. Oh, as he's got a great exit out of White's corner, down into the first turn. That is going to be a tricky one, as it's still very fast in these machines. Somehow he manages to keep side by side. There goes Robert Reynolds, letting them through, but it switches to the outside. Oh, and they make contact. Quellen off the course. He spins back on. Oh, and there goes Robert Reynolds with a huge accident, and that is going to send Xavier Sanchez into a spin, prone across the track. He tries to get it rolling in time. It cascades down amongst the drivers. Finally, it looks like it's settled in.
Yeah, and that was just a really tight fight right there, and unfortunately Quellen kind of came off the worst of it, but the two cars almost overlapped at the corner entry. And unfortunately for Sanchez, Sanchez, a driver that we saw exceptionally well at Pocono, just really nowhere to go on this one.
Well, and he did a good job of holding it, because look at it, fishtail as he tries to keep it from spinning out. Just unfortunately it gave way. Thankfully nobody was coming, because that was right in the firing line coming off the corner.
Yeah, and that's kind of the hardest part about an incident like that, because you pretty much set the car entry through center, and then when you get to exit and there's a car in the middle of the track, well, you can't do anything.
Oh, that's for the
car's
lead.
On the line.
That's Granberg overtaking Hisada, but Togo's trying to fight it. Oh, 2 wheels in the grass. He's got to weigh his options here. All he needs to do is finish, and he has got the championship, but he is fighting hard for the victory as he comes out of Clayton Corner. He continues it on for the 3rd turn in a row, side by side, but he has to give way. Martin Granberg, could he be on his way to his first victory of the season here?
I think it's highly possible. He's about halfway through the race now. I'm really surprised. Normally we see Granberg actually drop off a little bit in the race, but this time it's gone the other way. He's had the better of Hisada, and I think it's going to be really difficult for Hisada to get this back.
And now Maudsley had an off in Clayton Corner himself, lost 3 or 4 positions. That was a self-spin, but thankfully he caught it in the grass before it was on a trajectory. Big slide, and then eventually when it hit the grass, it righted itself. So he's down to 13th, but I think, he's still ahead of all his rivals. So he's still in a position to take F2.
Yeah, he's very safe, because Neva is obviously involved in that first lap incident. He's back there in 22nd, and Salgado is really the only other challenger to him, but he's back in 16th. So unless he makes another mistake, I think he's still got it.
And look at what that side-by-side battle did as Bill Tyler goes way wide coming through Clayton. And that's Einerson, who has had an off. He's going to try and stay out of the way, but unfortunately caused a little bit of consternation out of the corner. But that side-by-side battling has brought the third, fourth, and fifth place drivers back in contention a little bit. We heard that we had a little bit of off. I think, was it John Olsen or Laust Olsen?
It was Laust Olsen.
So the number 11 in 8th position now. He's trying to chase down Bernstorff, but Emil is kind of on his own in 7th at this stage. Courtney's left him in the dust. Speaking of which, kind of could say the same for Grandberg. Not completely, but his pace is enough that he's starting to gap him a little bit, and Trangrade is trying to close the gap to Vascalampi. He's been trying to get this position ever since he lost it, but nothing doing yet.
Yeah, Vascalampi kind of pulled up the move on Tyler there, and it looked like Trangrade decided that was an opportunity to try something on the outside, and it nearly worked. I think it was worth a go.
Just about there. As Courtniemi is now your fastest driver on track, a 16.683 goes purple for him. Now that's no bonus point in this series, so he doesn't have to worry about that, nor does Hisada and Tixier in terms of the championship. But as they come through turn 4 and into Moss once again, this was where Trangrade made that mistake before, almost a little bit of a mistake from Grandberg. He goes wide, but looks like he was opening up that second part of the hairpin, and that launches him off the corner.
Yeah, but I do think we're kind of starting to see everybody sort of concertina back up here. Tyler's looking the closest he's been to this top 2 for quite some laps here. Hisada running onto the grass with his left side tires on the straightaway. You got to be careful of that.
Yeah, they can't really afford to have many mistakes here, especially Hisada. And I've already seen him touch the grass a couple times, which is very scary considering what's on the line here. Again, if he wrecks out and does not score, then it will be Tixier who is our champion, in spite of not completing even a single lap here because of the drop points. And it'll be a single point between them in the end. Topi Courtniemi, another fastest lap of the race, though still stuck in 6th.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he's got a shot at it, though. I was saying earlier that when gaps open up in the series, it's really, really difficult to run them back down, but the gaps have actually closed up. So I think with how easy it is to make a mistake in the 49, everybody realistically in this top 7, I'm going to say, has actually a chance at winning this.
It's looking like it. One little mistake could check everybody up, could tangle everybody up, and then we could see a surprise winner out there today. Well, Hisada's on the fight back. In fact, he's got a nice slipstream looking to the left-hand side of Martin Grandberg. He really wants to try and cap this off with a victory. And as they go side by side, he tries to keep a leg in, but no, the door has been shut by Grandberg, and he will retain the top spot. But we could see an undercut. No, just parked it at the apex. Martin Grandberg will hold him off.
Yeah, and that gap back to 3rd, completely gone. Top 6 now, all within a second coming across the line.
This is an incredible race. And they're now past halfway in it as well.
Gone wide.
Grandberg is off. Grandberg's going to lose the lead. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. He is now into 6th, but he keeps the car alive. So Hisada is back on point. Courtniemi into the top 5.
And it's very, very easy to make a mistake. It's not even really a big mistake, it's just a slight error in judgment in braking on the initial turn, and that's the consequence.
So Hisada now leading this race once again, and it's amazing what he's been able to do this season and today. An incredibly young driver. We should point out that Toga Hisada, hailing from Japan, has certainly shown a lot of experience despite not having much behind him coming into this season. And Trangrade is now the one that is slipping up a little bit, and Topi Courtniemi might be able to overtake that. Oh no, Trangrade slides, and he is off. He doesn't run into Courtniemi, although it was close. Trangrade into the wall, facing the wrong way, whips it back around into 7th. That's now 2 cars in 1 lap that have fallen off of that group.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of contact. I don't think it was anybody's fault per se. It just looked like there was the tiniest touch. But I think Checkered might have already been going around by the time that touch happened. Yeah. You see, it actually straightened him up for a moment, and then it snapped away from him again.
Yep, it started to go early, just a little too hot into the turn. Kortsuniemi, hopefully that didn't damage Topi. He's still got Granberg behind him by about a second, and he's gaining on Vascalompi. So as they come up the back straight, actually Vascalompi, he might have something for Bill Tyler. We might see a change for second here.
Yeah, I mean we've seen this grouping that didn't include Checkered for a while. They were fighting Bill Tyler, and he's going to the inside here. Nothing going there though. Tyler's driven him very, very deep.
Thought for sure he was going to try and send that one in, and Kortsuniemi's there now. He lost a little time having to take evasive maneuvers with Checkered sliding, and has about 0.6 of a second to catch on Vascalompi. Slowed through the S's though, and gives a little bit right back.
Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on Granberg, because obviously we saw he's got good pace. He was leading the race, and he's on a bit of a fight back himself, but he is 2.5 seconds off the lead right now.
And Hassad has not been able to pull away all that much since he's regained the lead. A little bit here and there. It's up to about 0.7. But he's going to want to scamper away a little more than that, because we've already seen that mistakes open the door pretty wide and allow people to step through if you just leave a crack. And coming down into Moss Corner, they've got more lap traffic in front of them. It's not a very long lap around here, so they've caught the tail end of the field with Rasky, Anderson, and Ginn up ahead.
Yeah, a very, very fast lap. And I think in length it's not particularly short. It's just that the corners are all quite quick ones, except for Moss. So yeah, just over a 1:16 lap around here. And obviously lap traffic, we've seen it be a factor before. I'm hoping it's not going to be a factor in the sense it was at say Monza, but it can definitely close up these gaps that we've got.
We still have 28 of our 35 starters out there rolling right now. We've lost Ho, Smets, Grissinger, and Tixier. Quellen, Reynolds, and Enerson are all in pit lane taking repairs. Not sure if we'll see them back out on the track. There you see all those involved in the battle for first place here today. At least at this stage, it is switched around significantly over the course of today's event, and it has been quite a cast of characters, but some very heavy hitters up there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, some drivers with pretty nice runs going on. Emmanuel Perez up from 20th into 14th. The biggest mover inside the top 10 is actually Bernstorff. He's up from 13th into 6th. Oh, we got a spinner right ahead of the leaders, I think. Oh,
there was some contact.
It's Vascalompi. He's gone around.
Oh no. And that is Robert Anderson that is off track with him, one of the lapped cars. So Vascalompi has been having a bit of a bad day today after starting this one in 7th. Let's see from above, see if we can figure out what happened. I was looking away. Did the lapper spin here?
Yeah, it looked like he just got the left rear on the curb right at corner entry, but there is a huge fight going on for second place right now. Tyler's been passed by Kortsuniemi. He's on the inside, but he's not got it done going down into turn 1.
Yep, and if we come back live here, it's still side by side with Granberg, who has fought back into 4th now, looking for a podium, wheel to wheel as they come through Clayton. But this is where Martin lost it before. He's got to watch out. That's Bernstorff coming up in that number 1.
Yeah, and we haven't seen Bernstorff race in the 49 before at all, I don't think. But Vascalompi with a huge moment in the grass again. I'm wondering if he's got some pretty significant suspension damage on that car now.
Yeah, I got to think that it can't be in the best of shape. Yeah, it looks like it is handling very poorly here as he tries to carry on. But coming off the corner, was that our lapped car still sitting there?
I believe it might have been, yes.
Yeah, that's Anderson. Not taking a tow yet, unless he just spun in the exact same spot. No, he's been sitting there. That is bizarre. Well, he's going to get going finally. We can report, so don't need to go back to him. But the 1 and the 2 out there racing right now. And you're right, Emil Bernstorff is a real-life racer. Actually raced for the Colin team at one point.
Yeah, no, I've actually seen him streaming on Twitch. Most of the time he seems to be driving the Formula V, so this is quite a step up from that, I think. But, you know, it's first time in the 49, and he's having a great run. He's up in 5th with a legitimate shot to perhaps win this race. I mean, Hisada and Cordonimi have checked out a little bit on Bill Tyler now, but as we've seen, pretty much anything can happen. So he's not out of it yet.
Mistakes have been easy to come by. And even if it isn't your fault, sometimes you can come by mistakes of others. As Bernstorff is nearly off himself, and up ahead of him, that's Granberg. Granberg off again, outbraked himself into Moss. He finds the track. He must be a cat. He's got 9 lives today. He's survived Clayton, and now Moss Corner.
Yeah, Cortanimi is not giving up on the race when he's attacking Hisada. He's looking to the inside, nothing going to the outside now.
Pole position down to, what was it, 7th place or so, and now back up to 2nd. Maybe a win. More traffic in front of them. That's Anderson once again. Will he be able to get out of the way? He wants to. Oh, no! He's a roadblock for Hisada, and that cost him the lead. Topi just picked the right side and gets through.
Yeah, it's very, very easy to do there. You saw Anderson was going to the inside to get out of the way. Hisada, he picked the inside as well, so just an unfortunate deal, especially with how close the Cortanimi and Hisada were right there.
Sometimes trying to be polite and you both move to the same side of the hallway and bump into each other anyways. So Hisada, can he try and run down Cortanimi now? That's the question. Or has Topi got enough pace that he could start to pull away and finally make this lead safe?
I was saying that Topi's obviously got amazing pace. He had the pole, not by much over Hisada, but he's been able to recover from that earlier incident. You know, we've said already that that's pretty difficult to do in the 49. He's trying to break the draft a little bit down the straight here, making sure that Hisada's not going to have a run on him.
Kind of wonder about Bernstorff, though, the way that he's been running. 16.722, so close on his best lap compared to Cortanimi, but still about a 10th off. So questionable, but he could potentially chase him down depending on how this all goes. However, he's only got 5 laps to do and a couple cars between them, so looking rather unlikely at this stage as they come down through the first turn. And amazingly, after all these laps, top 4 are split by less than 2 seconds.
Yeah, and this is obviously probably one of the closest races we've had, where it's been still unclear as to who the outright winner is going to be. You know, we've seen before in the series where we'll have drivers who've kind of controlled the race the whole time, and it's come down to 1 or 2. But I think mistakes are really the name of the game here. Bill Tyler is still in 3rd. He's still in with a chance of this, especially if there's a mistake from the 2 ahead of him, which, you know, is not necessarily unlikely.
We had an solo off for Emmanuel Pereira. He has hit the wall and towed it into the pits, so I think he might be done for today. Also had a little bit of an off for Emil Bernstorff. He lost time, but not positions. He sits in 4th, but we watch Hisada trying to keep up with Cortanimi, still within 0.3 of a second, and it's going to be 4 laps to go this time by.
Yeah, and I do think that Cortanimi is the faster of the 2 drivers. Just being able to make that recovery and have the pole time that he did. And, you know, I think he's got less to lose in this. I think if I was Hisada, I'd be a bit more conscious of not having an incident, you know, trying to push too hard, just because of that championship. Whereas I think for Cortanimi, he just wants to win the race.
Indeed, and it's all that risk versus reward scenario that you got to think about. Also, a little bit earlier, we were talking about hard chargers. Jeff Saunders, actually the hardest charger, but he did not qualify. Still, he has gone up from 33rd to 18th currently. There you see him in the 23 car.
Yeah, that's a pretty huge gain right there. And, you know, it might not be done. He's right behind Eugenio Massa.
Yeah, he's still got a few positions to potentially get. And, yeah, this looks like a good run, but Massa not going to pull over. And he is going to try and defend this one in these final few laps Ooh, Vascalampi was hot on the heels of Laust Olsen, but he had a mistake through Moss Corner, so that breaks up that fight. A lot of drivers looking like they are running out of talent here towards the end of the race. We've seen some supremely skilled drivers have offs, many of them of their own doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that's kind of been the story of this season, really. When we've seen drivers who have been on for good runs, and then it's kind of gone against them. It's normally been a solo mistake that's kind of taken them out of contention. And Laust Olsen, a driver who comes to chat with us quite often, on his way to another good top 10 finish here. So that's good to see from him.
The 11, who is running from 9th to 7th, up 2 spots. Certainly look like he's handling well. Oh, and sad news for us. Oh, and Bernstorff has gotten by Tyler. That looks like a mistake with Tyler slow. Is he going to lose another one? Yes, he is. Or at least he's going to try. That is the 2 of Granberg, just sneaking by in time.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happened there with Tyler. But that's really disappointing for him because, you know, it was probably the best run he's maybe even ever had in the 49 right there. He was up in 3rd. He actually had a shot at the victory. The car just snapped away from him right there. That was quite a strange one. It was like he was up on the curb and just happened to get on the power at exactly the wrong time and went around on him.
This car looks
and Jeff Saunders is going around. He ran into the back of Massa there.
Oh, and he comes back on track just as Nieva's coming through to add to the 18's woes. I think he made slight contact, but oh, no, Jorge is damaged as he just spun it out all on his own coming into the next corner, Quebec. So here is Saunders. There's that battle that we were talking about with his climb through the fields. And unfortunately, Massa maybe breaking a little bit more than the 23 anticipated. Back onto the track, and he tries to pull forward. Well, that caused definitely Jorge Nieva a lot of frustration, I'm sure. Where is he sitting now, actually, after that? Oh, he's got a meatball flag. So he is in pit lane having to get repairs here in these last 2 laps. Doubt we'll see him again. So that pretty much is championship done. And it looks like Maudsley will be clinching that one. He sits in 13th right now, unless he has a massive wreck in these last 2 laps. He has got this one wrapped up.
Yeah, and that's got to be pretty frustrating for Nieva. We've seen him have really, really good pace. We've actually seen him be inside the top 10 at times throughout the season. And, you know, through no fault of his own today, he was pretty much out of that battle on lap 1.
Well, that was kind of the story of both of the F1 and F2 championships. Tixier out of it on lap 1 as well. And we've got the white flag with Courtiniemi coming out of Clayton and into Quebec. Hisada is still behind him by about 0.7 of a second, barring a mistake from the Finn. It's not looking likely he'll manage any sort of an attack here. And look at the gap behind them. Bernstorff has moved up into 3rd. So despite his own little errors, the Danish-British driver finds himself bit by bit working his way up to the champagne positions and up the backstretch. Now it's almost done for Courtiniemi, claiming another victory this season.
Yeah, and it's a really good fight back. You know, obviously that first lap totally would not have gone to plan. I don't think he would have expected to win the race after that, but, you know, had a really, really solid drive through the field, no more mistakes, and it's paid off for him.
2 wins earlier in the season for Topi Courtiniemi. It's been a dry spell since then, but he'll cap it off with a victory as Topi Courtiniemi wins here today at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. But Hisada is your champion with another 2nd place. He has got to be beside himself. That was a classy championship as Bernstorff gets a well-earned 3rd place himself.
Yeah, I think Hisada will be very, very happy with that. Probably a little bit disappointed to miss out on the race for him, but must be happy to take the championship. Indeed.
Got his first win last season at Indianapolis, started racking them up and showed he had what it takes as Sanchez going to finish 10th. And Maudsley crosses the line. 13th will do it. Matthew is your F2 champion. Don Peak in a bit of a battle with Eugenio Massa, who might have a little bit of damage from that contact we saw just a couple laps ago. Don Peak doing what he can to try and challenge him, but doesn't look like he's close enough. And I can tell you, as he almost slips out on the final corner, he's sporting those Ukrainian colors for good reason. My family has a lot of ties over in Ukraine, and I know he and my mother, Jan, are both thinking a lot about many of their close friends over there. So our thoughts are with those in Ukraine and all that they're going through at the moment. But that does take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. The season finale of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends saw an incredible fight. And though it was not Hesada taking the victory and Topi Kortaniemi, who went all the way back into the pack and then came back to win, Hesada clinched the championship with his second place finish. Emil Bernstorff, the rear-world driver, has come in and parachuted into a third from 13th, showing he's still got it, as Martin Grandberg behind him winds up in fourth, but he gave a valiant effort to try and get a little bit higher than that. Bill Tyler still manages fifth. A little bit of a slip up late in the race cost him, as Ove Trangrade was up and down as well, only able to get sixth, which he started in, interestingly. Laust Olsen was seventh as Timu Vascalampi finished P8, and John Olsen was ninth. Xavier Sanchez, in the end, grabs a top 10.
Just missing out on the top 10. Jan Lehman, he comes home in 11th after starting 15th. Robert Plumley, we saw him going for some RX action, but he does actually move up from 17th to finish 12th. Matthew Maudsley, I do believe he will be our F2 championship after the misfortune for Jorge Neva, so a great job by him, and congratulations on that championship if he's watching. He's back there in 13th for the race. Rolly Wallbank, I believe, has secured 5th and maybe even 4th in the F2 championship as well, but we'll have to wait for final scoring on that one with that 14th place finish. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado, I believe, will be 3rd in the F2 championship and 15th in the race today, with Andrew Eng, Eugenio Massa, Don Peak with another great run inside the top 20 here. He finishes 18th in the last car on the lead lap, with Lance Simon and Ben Summers rounding out the top 20.
Yeah, this one was costly. A lot of drivers unable to finish or multiple laps down. Jorge Nieva didn't see the checkered flag, but he was 21st, as Jeff Saunders, also in pit lane, 22nd. Isong Gen, 23rd, and Timothy Porter, 24th. From there on down, it is all DNFs for these drivers. This track gobbled them up by the end, except for Gary Quellen and Robert Reynolds, who eventually made it out onto the track. But we do have our winner ready to talk to us, Topi Kortaniemi, who I'm sure has quite the tale to tell. Topi, congratulations on the win. But after the first lap, we weren't quite sure if it was going to be a win today. How did you get back through the field?
No idea. I was lucky, to be honest. And I don't know. A lot of it was hard racing, but maybe a bit too hard. And I'm not sure if some of the contacts were my fault. Maybe the contact with Timo was a little over ambitious, but I don't know. For me, it seemed he went wide for a while, but apparently he didn't. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to check the replay. But first of all, congrats to Togo, you're champion. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, indeed. I'm sure he's beside himself. We're excited to get to talk to him here in a moment. You also, unfortunately had a little bit of an effect on the F2 championship as well. Contact with Jorge Nieva there on the first lap. Have you had a chance to chat with him after the race, or is there any consternation between you two?
I'm sorry. I don't know if I was in contact with Nieva. I'd have to check the replay, but if there was any contact, it was my fault. I'm sorry, of course, but I'd have to check. Sorry, I don't remember at the moment.
Oh, and I'm going back to check. Yeah, you. It looks like you got in contact with Hrazky there, and Hrazky had contact with him. Apologies. So, but regardless, as you came back in, 3rd win of the season. Are we going to be seeing more of you come season 2 here on iRacing? More serious attempt at the championship?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the Finnish championship is going to end in about at the end of March, so then I'll be probably racing the 49 more often.
Well, looking forward to that. And again, congratulations. Anybody you want to shout out to before you go?
Everybody. Togo and Mick for starting his ride. Good luck, mate.
Yeah, we're all thinking about Mick right now as he's getting ready to take off on a round-the-world ride on his bike, as we heard there with Topi mentioning, who was our winner today. And second place was Hisada. And it looks like we've got Christian ready to talk to the Japanese driver who is our new champion.
Togo is 2nd in the race, but the overall championship, tell us how you feel.
Yeah, I'm so happy. I didn't expect it, that result in start of the season. So yeah, really happy.
Yeah, well, it was a great championship. We saw obviously last season you picked up a win, and then this season you picked up quite a few more wins. So a really great performance. Tell us about kind of coming into this series, racing against the regulars, and what it takes to go out there and actually beat them.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I haven't enough English skills to listen to this interview, so I can't understand this question, but drivers is pretty kind and always giving a fair battle, and I was really excited to racing every week. So is it answered?
Yeah, well, it was 3 wins throughout the season. I believe it's 4 total for you. And will you be coming back next season to defend the championship?
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm 17 years old, and next year I need to pass the exam to go to the university. So yeah, I have to study a lot than now. So I'm not sure about definitely want to take a championship again.
Well, we hope that we'll see you again in the 49 series, because it's been great to watch you throughout the season. Picking up so many race wins, so many pole positions, and I believe you're actually our first Japanese champion in the series. So congratulations for that. Obviously a fantastic achievement. And before we let you go, do you want to give anybody a shout out?
Yeah. My team, TC Kosei Sports, it is my team, and my family, my father playing the Grand Prix Legends in my childhood. So that's I started that's why I'm driving a Lotus 49, and now he's watching this broadcast every week and celebrate with me. So yeah, and of course GSRC. Really nice broadcast every week. So yeah, that's all.
Well, it was fantastic for you to come and chat with us, and great to hear that you started on Grand Prix Legends. An extremely difficult game, and great to see that you made the jump over to iRacing and into the Lotus 49. Thank you for coming and chatting with us. Congratulations again on the championship, and we hope to see you back next season.
Thank you.
That was Togo Hisada, second place today, and our newly crowned champion. Funny thing about that is, if I understand his age correctly, Grand Prix Legends is older than he is. And we have one more to talk to, Laust Olsen, who finished 7th today. Laust, congratulations for a top 10, up 2 spots. It seemed like this track was gobbling up drivers. Was it pretty hard out there?
Yeah, it was. It's a challenging track in any cars, but especially in this car. First of all, I would like to congratulate Togo with the championship. That was he had a great season, and also Toby for the race win. He did a great comeback. He was behind me at some point, but managed to get past and take the race win. That was quite an achievement. So it was much about survival out there for me, trying not to make too big mistakes. I did one in Moss, letting Emil Bernstorff pass. I held him back for a lot of laps, which was quite, how do we say? It was quite pleasing being able to hold him back for so long, because he was a bit quicker than I was. And then I made one big mistake in turn 2, I believe, going off track and losing contact with the front group. So, but otherwise it was some quite good battles through the race. So that was great fun.
Talking about survival, you're going to have to employ that skill a little bit later, because Camel's going to Bathurst today. Do you think racing here is going to help that?
Hopefully. The challenge is quite equal. So Bathurst is also challenging, and also the traffic in the Camel. So that's going to be quite a challenge.
No doubts. Well, before we hopefully get to talk to you again a little bit later today, anybody you want to give a thank you or shout out to?
Yeah, all the guys in the Lotus 49 community. It's a great place to race, and you guys for the great broadcast you do. And I'm looking forward to watching it with the other Lotus 49ers in our Sunday drive, where we look back the broadcast and discuss the race and telling all the funny stories. So that's going to be fun.
And that was Laust Olsen finishing 7th here today, and that's going to wrap us up. So a big thank you once again to Channel sponsor, Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Make sure and check them out with our link in the description below and use our discount code Majors GSRC to get yourself 10% off. Also, a big thank you to the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, Christian, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenv.com. We keep a link in the description below to make it nice and easy. But while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a moment. The next race for the series is going to be Saturday, March 19th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar, including, as we mentioned, the Camel GT guys are going to Bathurst at noon Eastern. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.